Let's talk about legacy. We're going to dive into one of the most incredible stories about what it means to be remembered. It's all about how one man, who was pretty much haunted by his reputation, managed to completely flip the script on his own story, after it was supposedly already written. And what he did has some huge lessons for all of us on how to build something that really, truly lasts.
But let me start with a question for you. And I'm serious here. What if you could pick up the paper tomorrow and read your own obituary? What would it say? And maybe more importantly, what would you want it to say? I know, it's a jarring thought, right? But that exact scenario is what kicks off this entire, unbelievable story.
So, meet our main character, Alfred Nobel. Yeah, you definitely know the name, but what you might not know is that for most of his life, his legacy was shaping up to be, well, something pretty dark. He was a brilliant inventor, super wealthy, but his most famous invention had this really grim reputation. And the whole thing, the whole story, it all comes down to a single, wild mistake. See, back in 1888, Alfred's brother died, but a French newspaper got it wrong and printed Alfred's obituary by accident. That one error set off a chain reaction that led him to write a completely new will in 1895, right before he died, which of course created the Nobel Prize as we all know today.
And that mistaken obituary? Wow, it was absolutely brutal. It didn't talk about his genius or his business success. Nope, the headline called him the Merchant of Death. See, he'd invented dynamite, and even though he meant it for things like mining and construction, it had become this terrifying weapon of war, and that was the story the world was going to tell about him.
Can you even imagine reading that about yourself? For Nobel, it was a gut punch. It sparked this huge personal crisis. He had this horrible, chilling realization. This is it. My name is going to be linked with death and destruction forever. And right then and there, he decided he had to change the ending to his story.
So, how do you do that? How do you rewrite your own legacy when the world thinks it's already written? Well, you don't just sit back and hope people forget. You have to take massive, decisive action. And that is exactly what Alfred Nobel did.
He took his entire fortune, which, get this, in today's money, is worth around $250 million, and he decided to point it in a completely new direction. This wasn't just some small donation to look good. This was him going all in on changing what his name would mean to the world. So in his final will, he laid out this brilliant plan. All of his money would be used to create annual prizes for people who gave the greatest benefit on mankind in 5 different areas: physics, chemistry, medicine, literature, and, probably the most important one for him, peace. He was literally turning a legacy of destruction into a legacy of human progress.
And this is the absolute key to the whole thing. With all that cash, he could have built giant statues of himself or buildings with his name plastered all over them. But he didn't. He didn't build a monument to himself. He built a system, a living, breathing system, designed to celebrate the achievements of other people forever.
And that choice right there, it perfectly captures the big idea we're diving into today. It's this choice between building a system versus building a monument. And it's a fundamental choice we all have in how we approach our work and what we decide to leave behind.
Let's just be really clear on what we mean by legacy here. It's not about being famous. It's not about getting your name in the history books. It's about being useful. It's about designing your work so that it keeps serving people, keeps providing value, long after you're out of the picture.
Okay, let's break this down. On one side, you have monuments. They're all about visibility, fame, applause. The driving question behind a monument is, will they remember me? But on the other side, you have systems, and they're focused on something totally different: utility and value. Their success is measured by long-term impact, and the question is way more powerful: will this be useful to them?
Okay, so that's the big idea. But how do we actually apply this stuff? Well, we can actually pull a practical 5-step framework right out of Nobel's story. It's like a little guide you can use for your own work, whatever it is you do.
So here are the 5 steps. First, you confront where you are. Then, you redirect your energy. Then, you design a system, not a monument. Then, you release it into the world. And finally, you build it to endure. Let's dig into what each of these really means.
Okay, this table lays it all out. Let's walk through it. Number 1, confront. Nobel had to look that horrible obituary right in the eye. For us, it means asking that really hard question: what story does my work actually tell right now? Number 2, redirect. He pointed his entire fortune towards human progress. For you, this means picking a timeless value, like curiosity or connection or justice, and making that the core of your work. 3, design. Remember, he built a system, the prizes. We can do the same by building frameworks and principles that other people can actually use, not just consume. 4. Release. Nobel's will was kind of vague. He had to trust other people to bring his vision to life. For us, that means putting our work out there and letting go, trusting that people will find their own value in it. And finally, number 5, endure. His mission is just as relevant today as it was over 100 years ago. The goal is to create something that taps into universal human needs, so it stays useful no matter how much the world changes.
So, after hearing this whole story and seeing this framework, the question really bounces back to us, doesn't it? It makes you stop and think beyond just the next project, the next sale, the next deadline, and really consider the big picture.
And here's an idea that just might flip your whole concept of legacy on its head. Most of us think legacy is about being remembered. But what if a real legacy is actually about being useful long after everyone has forgotten your name?
Think about it. The real goal isn't name recognition, it's impact. It's not about being a household name, it's about your work becoming a tool in someone else's house, or an idea in their head, or an inspiration in their heart. That's the real measure of something that lasts.
And this chart just says it all, right? If you chase short-term trends, your impact is going to be pretty low and fade fast. If you chase personal fame, okay, it might last a little longer. But if you create something with enduring utility, something that helps people or teaches them or just makes their lives better, that's where you get the highest, longest-lasting impact. It's not even close.
And so we end right back where we started, with a question for you to take away. As you go about your day, as you work on your projects, just ask yourself this. Are you building monuments designed to be admired? Or are you building tools designed to be used? The answer to that question will define everything.